If I can pull this off, it'll be hysterical. If I can pull it off. Okay, well, I gotta get the line out at least. Isn't that hilarious? PlayStation Vue is dead. So let's pour one out for all the Kyles out there. Sorry, bud. And let's all enjoy how very, very right I was 8 months in advance. It's not so much that this is a funeral as it is kind of putting a streaming service in hospice care. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm happy to see PlayStation Vue go. It was a perfectly fine service, but it did have two major problems. First of all, the name, which sucked, and the lack of a differentiating factor. So I'll talk about that more in a few moments. But the news is PlayStation Vue will stop broadcasting on January 30th, and they're gonna stop accepting new signups soon if they haven't already by the time this video is released. So what happened? Well, simultaneously, it's a complex and a very simple answer. Either way, though, it's really the story of what's going on with TV generally. So here's what it boils down to. You think TV is too expensive? Well, yeah, so did Sony, and so does everyone else. Let's dive in. Now, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy what we do, but today let's talk about the future of TV. Today I am going to be talking briefly about every major live TV streaming service. So Sling TV, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, AT&T TV Now, Fubo, and Philo. But first, we need to understand the demise of PlayStation Vue and the coming demise of some others. So let's have a look at the general lay of the land. Again, ultimately it boils down to this. Linear TV, scheduled, live TV, whatever you want to call it, is expensive to provide. Think about how expensive it is to run a single channel with 24 hours of content every single day, content you either have to create yourself or license. That's a lot of content, and that's a lot of people's salaries to pay for. And that's just one channel. And channels aren't usually standalone. You have to pay for a whole bunch of them, like how if Dish wants to carry NBC, they also have to pick up MSNBC and CNBC and USA and Sci-Fi and E and so on. So those package deals are expensive. Just ask Sling TV, which lost 22 Fox regional sports networks a few months ago, much to the chagrin of their subscribers. So now picture you're Sony. The cord-cutting revolution is just starting and you want in on the action. Is it any surprise that 4 years later they decided that the headache, the red tape, and the massive, massive expense wasn't worth it for a pay TV product that, in the end, as they implied in their press release, was never as revolutionary as everyone hoped it would be in the beginning? Of course PlayStation Vue folded, and while we should always take press release statements with a grain of salt, I absolutely believe them when they say that they want PlayStation to concentrate on its core business of gaming. It makes total sense to me, and as a PlayStation gamer myself, I'm not sad about Sony putting more resources toward that experience instead. That's not to say there's nothing left to be gained from pay TV. It made sense for Sony to get out, but there are still tens of millions of cable and satellite subscribers in the US, not to mention the millions of cord cutters using other over-the-top services like Sling TV, Hulu Live, or YouTube TV, and so on. So now the question is, what will become of all these other providers? Well, let's leave aside cable and satellite for a moment and just concentrate on streaming. And in the spirit of hashtag Craig is always right, I have some predictions for each of them. And as always, I look forward to you all yelling at me in the comments. So let's start with AT&T TV Now, the big fan favorite. Honestly, AT&T's TV situation is just a giant cluster. You know what, that would have been indelicate. It'll actually help if we chart this out. So let's chart this out, okay? Thank you. Now, AT&T owns DirecTV, the satellite service. So it would make sense if they want to get into streaming, they create DirecTV Now. The naming convention is a little bit confusing, but whatever, we deal with it. Well, that kind of crashed and burned, and so they nixed that and rebranded as AT&T TV Now. But hang on, AT&T is also phone service, and they have on that one, they've got AT&T Watch TV. So that's confusing, but they also own HBO now, and they have HBO Now and HBO Go, and now they're about to have HBO Max. Well, and then this is actually going to get rolled into HBO Max, and then these are going to go away. AT&T TV Now, or AT&T Watch TV is going away. It's just a giant mess.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
But hey, bless their hearts, they do seem to want to clean it up. Cord Cutters News has reported that AT&T Watch TV, like I said, is going to be shut down in the coming months. AT&T TV Now is also probably going to go away sometime in the next year or so. It's going to be rolled into HBO Max eventually. This is according to reports. We don't have a date on that yet. But here's my prediction. All of this cleaning up, ultimately, it's not going to work, at least as far as streaming TV goes. Now, AT&T will still have DirecTV satellite service for a while, but HBO Max, which will try to take advantage of the goodwill the HBO brand carries, won't be able to sustain an expensive, over-the-top live TV offering for long, and it too will jettison live TV the way Sony has. Then there are the smaller live TV providers like Fubo TV and Philo. Philo has the advantage of being jointly owned by several networks: A&E, AMC, Discovery, and Viacom. Soon to be maybe CBS if that merger goes through. So as long as that remains the situation, ironing out deals for those channel groups will be relatively simple. Now, Philo doesn't have any sports or news to speak of, and those are the most popular things on TV right now, so they won't gain huge amounts of subscribers, but it could remain a decent hedge for its owner networks as the pay TV landscape continues to shift. So I think Philo will stick around, but it will always be tiny compared to other providers. Fubo, on the other hand, has a ton of sports channels, and I predict that they will double down on that. They have one foot in, hey, we're sports focused, and one foot in the, hey, we're everything to everyone. But they'll find, like Sony, that that is an unsustainable model, and they will refocus just on sports, pulling in an audience for whom sports, especially soccer, is the primary or maybe the only thing that they care about on TV. YouTube TV will fare better in the everything to everyone realm because of its name recognition and the mountains of cash that Google can tolerate losing, if necessary, in order to compete in the live TV arena. But even though they do make a nod to having lots of sports on YouTube TV, so do their competitors, outside of Philo, of course. So YouTube TV actually lacks any additional draw, any differentiating factor. There's not much to set it apart from its competitors other than it being a Google property. So YouTube TV will be around for a while, but the amazing growth that it had in its first year or so will never be recaptured. That leaves Hulu. And here's my prediction. In 2020, Hulu will start to pull away from the pack and establish itself as the undisputed king of over-the-top live TV streaming. It has the channel count, it has the financial support, it has the name recognition, and it has something that its competitors lack, a unique selling point. Because when you pay for live TV with Hulu, you also get Hulu. And with the connection now to Disney Plus, it's basically game over for everybody else. Hulu is going to be part of a must-have bundle that will become dominant through 2020 and beyond. Now, I'm not saying this is the outcome that everyone should want. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe one of the other services is your favorite and you would prefer it if they came out on top. That's not my point. Whatever our individual tastes are, I just don't think there's any stopping Hulu Live from dominating the live TV cord-cutting arena for the foreseeable future. And now it's time for you to let me have it. On your way down to the comments, make sure you like and subscribe, but go hit those comments, tell me why, hashtag Craig is always right. Or why you think I'm wrong, and we'll argue in the comments.